Our award tonight for Outstanding Campaigning Politician goes to a woman who is at once a lawyer, a legislator, a diplomat, and an activist. As we were entering the final stages of our legislative battle in the U.S. Congress in the fall of 2012 to pass the Magnitsky Act, work had already begun by Anna Gomes and her colleagues, some of whom are in this room tonight, to begin work concurrently on an EU Magnitsky Act. And if you know even a little bit about the financial exposure and the love of travel that some of the world's worst kleptocrats and human rights abusers, you know that a European Magnitsky Act is a fearsome prospect for them. And so Anna had been doing this, and we are now at the dawn of a new European Commission, and so I hope we will see a new EU Magnitsky Act and that it will be implemented. But as important as it is to pass a law, the work is at best only half done. I would say you need to then implement a law, right? Even a good law can be ignored, can be thwarted. You also need to track down, in the particular case of sanctions law, of acts of sanctions evasion. And we've seen a lot of that, particularly in the case of the targets that have been targeted under the Magnitsky Act, but in many other cases. And you need someone who really can watch these details and exercise that oversight. And that's exactly what our awardee, Anna Gomes, has done in pushing for EU implementation, pushing for the Commission to act on the repeated urgings in legislation of the European Parliament in tracking down individuals who have been evading sanctions, and also, and perhaps most importantly, in closing loopholes like the so-called golden visas or golden passports, right? You can't sanction people if they're your own nationals. And so if you're able to purchase EU residence or citizenship without due diligence, then you've effectively defanged some of the greatest tools we have for imposing even a small measure of justice. But not on Anna's watch. And as we've seen recently in the case of Cyprus and other countries that have begun to close this loophole. So Anna's looking ahead to a time when we do have that EU Magnitsky Act and some of the challenges that will be faced in terms of implementing it and making sure that it's not evaded. In fact, I think, Anna, in your characteristic bluntness, you've called this practice the prostitution of the Schengen system. You know, the case for human rights is generally easy to make and a very strong argument, but only if it's done publicly, with clarity and honesty. And Anna possesses these qualities in abundance and has used her decades of distinguished public service to make an effective case for justice, for human rights accountability. Whether that has meant confronting the likes of Vladimir Putin in legislation over the false arrest, torture, and murder of Sergei Magnitsky, or confronting Joseph Muscat publicly to his face over the impunity that reigns in the brutal assassination of Malta's most famous investigative journalist, Daphne Caruana Galizia, 2 years ago, October 16th, or in pressing EU countries like Cyprus to close these dangerous loopholes. Loopholes that make a mockery of human rights and accountability and also expose us to grave national security challenges. Selling citizenship to the highest bidder. Anna has never hesitated to present inconvenient facts or to flinch under pressure from dictators or organized crime. And she has also been consistent, unlike some politicians, in calling on her own government to practice these same principles and keep its obligations. For all these reasons, Anna, you are a most worthy recipient of this award, and it's an honor to present it to you tonight. And Anna, as long as there are people like you and our other awardees tonight in this room, the heroic legacies of individuals like Sergei Magnitsky, like Boris Nemtsov, like Daphne Caruana Galizia, and like Jamal Khashoggi will never die. Thank you, Anna.
Well, it's really an honor and an incentive to keep fighting, because we need to keep fighting. And I thank the Magnitsky Award Committee, Bill Browder, for indeed this incentive. I think it was in 2014 that one day Bill showed up in my office at the European Parliament saying, you guys in the EU need an EU Magnitsky Act. And I said, you're preaching to the converted. I've put it in a report, and that report has been adopted by the European Parliament with an overwhelming majority. But of course, as Kyle just highlighted, the big challenge was make it happen. And let me say, I'm really very, very pleased that today here I have Miguel Carapeto, who was my assistant to help me draft that report. I have my other assistants, Ana Luisa, worked so hard. And I have so many of my MEP colleagues, former MEPs, but as well current MEPs. I'm really thrilled because, of course, without their support, we wouldn't have made it happen. And last year, we had the EU Magnitsky Act passed. And the big fight was actually to call it Magnitsky. You know, Bill knows. We were fighting to have it, not just have the act, but have it called Magnitsky, as it should. And I'm really honored because when I think, one of the people who helped me, contributed to the sensibility in the European Parliament towards the report was actually linking the fight against corruption with the fight for human rights and development. And one of the people who helped me was one of the witnesses there was Rafael Marques, an Angolan journalist and campaigner, who was being, threatened, sued, at risk in his own country, in Angola, at the hands of the kleptocracy. Only last week, he was decorated by the president of Angola, the new president, trying indeed to fight kleptocracy. And it shows that indeed this fight is really necessary and it's worth keeping. It's not all dark, although indeed, as other speakers have said, this is a crucial time where we need to keep up this fight. And now that when we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of the death of Sergei Magnitsky, I read today what I think his wife has said, that a EU Magnitsky Act is not just about Sergei, it's about others. And we know that. We know that in the EU, we know that in the global village we live in. So many examples. I'm so thrilled to be here with Maria Ressa, that with whom I worked 20 years ago in Jakarta. And I'm so thrilled to be here with so distinguished fighters like Oleg Sentsov, Golchera Oja, the fantastic lawyers, James and Rupert, that were just honored, and of course, all the other campaigners here. We know that we need to fight. We need to keep up the fight, but we need to be together. And in this day, when we heard that, nothing really new, but at least the evidence that the downing of the MH17 went all the way up to the Kremlin is one more reason why we need as well to go all the way up and down to all those perpetrators of horrendous human rights violations, for brave people like Sergei Magnitsky who are doing their duty by exposing the corrupt and the criminals. It's even more important these days. I mean, here we are in London, close to the office of a prime minister that is sitting on a report to hide the truth about the Russian influence to indeed manipulate and get Brexit adopted in the referendum. Here we are at the same time where there is an impeachment process going on in the US, the country we all looked at as a stalwart of freedom and democracy, and yet we have a president under impeachment for high suspicion of compromat. Kyle has mentioned the golden visas. Yeah, the golden visa system is a corrupt system that actually holds many people for compromat in many countries in the EU. And the name of that amazing lady, Daphne Caruana Galizia, was echoed today many times. She and Jan Kuciak in Slovakia are the evidence of these outstanding journalists that keep fighting the corrupt no matter what, no matter the risks they are facing. And in this case, in the case of Daphne, it's not just her, it's her family still under tremendous duress, tremendous libel cases. One more reason why we need to indeed keep up the fight for truth, the fight for democracy, for the rule of law. It's our common responsibility of all of us. And these outstanding examples, from Sergei Magnitsky to Daphne Caruana Galizia, are the reason why we will be strong and we'll keep fighting. Thank you.